Some of you probably remember the grand old days of Sunday school and Sunday school programs when they gave you these things where you spelled out words and there were these little poems that you read. And I remember one year, my class, a group of them were given the word star. And so there was a little poem for S, and a little one for T, and an A, and an R. And so here it is, Christmas Eve, and that was the traditional time for the Christmas program. And rehearsal had gone very, very well. And yet that night they came out backwards. And so instead of spelling stars, it spelled rats. And today is Epiphany, and rats is appropriate because Christmas is over. Trees are coming down. We got to put the gifts away, and all that stuff. Rats. And in a way, that's too bad because Epiphany is really quite a remarkable season, and the day of Epiphany is really pretty remarkable. I was my first year at my last parish. Christmas Eve was one of the very first times that I was with the entire congregation. And so I pulled out my nativity set, and we were telling the story as I got out the pieces. And so I had everything out except Jesus in the manger. And I said, what are we missing? And, there's generally a group of boys in every congregation that are around 4th or 5th or 6th grade that think they know it all. Well, I had those, and I didn't know who they were yet. So they got me by surprise. And one of them said, the Three Kings. And before I had a chance to correct him, a little girl, 4 years old, turned to him and said, no, Robert, that's on the next page. So I want you to take rats and the next page and put them together because this is Epiphany. Now we're focused on the Magi. The Magi are a very, very significant group of people that we don't know much about because they weren't Jews, and they certainly weren't fixtures in the Roman or Greek government, so we don't know a whole lot about them in today's Christian church. They're a very significant group of people. These three Magi were what they called Midianites. They were so powerful that at one point they almost pulled off a coup to take over Persia. That's how strong they were politically as well as intellectually, in terms of education, in terms of medicine. They would meet 3 times a year in which they would give assignments to various groups. These 3 Magi that we think of on Epiphany, the 3 kings as we call them, were given an assignment, like many others. We find out that the Magi traveled as far as Great Britain and as far as India. They collected information from all societies. They were great healers. They had medicine well beyond any other cultural or ethnic group of their day. They also were great astrologers and astronomers. They were something very, very special. And they show up in this Gospel of St. Matthew as significant figures that we don't know much about if we don't take some time to look into them. A new star had appeared in the sky. And lest we think that the Magi were the only ones that saw that new star, not so. A new star in the sky is significant to almost every culture on the face of the earth of this day. It meant there was major change coming. For some, it meant there was a new leader. For some, it meant it was going to be a change in time. It was going to be a revolution of some kind. And the 3 gifts they bring, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, you probably have heard before. The gold signifies a gift for a king. Frankincense is symbol of the incense used by priests. And myrrh is one of the spices used to preserve the body of the dead. Sacrifice. So we have three kings with three gifts that symbolize a king, a priest, and a sacrifice. A friend of mine not too long ago went to South Africa, and he was taken into the depths of Durban Deep, which is one of the deepest gold mines on the face of the earth. When you get down there to that point, there is zero light. So my friend, going on a tour, they went down into the depths, the bowels of the earth, and the guide turned off the lights. And my friend, knowing he was going to experience the darkness, and the guide, having told them it's going to be total darkness, he waited for his eyes to adjust to the darkness. Because as we all know, you turn out the lights in the house, you wait long enough, pretty soon you can open your eye. Now, it doesn't look like daylight, but you can see enough to get around without falling over the kids' toys or the hassock or whatever, right? But in Durban Deep, his eyes could not adjust. There was an absence of light so complete that there was no adjustment to be had. And yet, the very smallest of pen lights, when the guy pulled it out of his pocket, when he turned it on, it lit up a huge cavern over 200 foot square. In the midst of total darkness, a very, very small light makes a very, very big difference. And that's part of Matthew's reason for including this particular story of the Magi coming to pay homage to Jesus. It's significant because he wants everyone to know that the prophecies about Jesus were fulfilled. It is very, very important for the writer of Matthew to proclaim to those who read his gospel to know that this is the Messiah, the one that is prophesied for, and there are proofs for it. And as we read Matthew, this is just one of the first indications. He always says to fulfill the words of the prophet. This proves that this is the one that was to come. It illustrates to all of his readers that there is a truth that is found in the birth of this child that is broader than the Jewish community. It is larger than the Mediterranean. In fact, it is for the entire world to know. And the fact that the Magi show up just shows how far the influence of the one, the Christ, the Word made flesh, is to be. And he also wants his readers to know there are three roles for this child that is born. Yes, he will be a king. He is of the lineage of David, and that's not something to sneeze at. But he is also a priest, one who is to lead you spiritually into growing into a new relationship with God, from whom you have wandered. A God that has not lost you, but you have lost because you thought you knew better than God. You knew better than his prophets. You knew better than his kings. And he is the one to call you back. It also is to get us to understand that Christ's mission is threefold. Yes, Christ the King. To be king of a world, not in a political sense, but in the sense of righteousness and a sense of life and living. He is to be a priest, not because of the garb, not to be in attendance at the Holy of Holies, not in order to make sacrifice and sell sheep and pigeons and all the rest. No, no, no. This is a priest that puts us in touch with the one who created us. And he is in turn going to be a sacrifice. He is going to suffer and die. It is a sacrifice that he also comes to be. And Matthew wants us to know that at the very get-go, that is the end of Jesus' life on this earth. That is part of his call. My My granddaughter got very upset with me because I didn't refer to the wise men when we talked on Friday evening. I refer to them as the wise guys. She said, Dabba, you just have no respect. I said, well, you tell me about those three kings then. You tell me about these wise men. And she said, well, they were very, very smart. And I said, well, I knew three guys from Scranton, Pennsylvania that were smart. They were wise guys. She said, so respect would behoove you. She's 8. Where did that come from? So what does Epiphany, we know what Matthew is trying to do. Is that what we are trying to do when we look at Epiphany? We are called to hear, see, and know that sense of universality that comes with the Magi appearing. All the Magi were not Persians. All the Magi were not Babylonians. All of the Magi were not Assyrians. They were a multicultural group who were after the truth. Matthew is saying Jesus is the truth. And He is the truth for all. He is constant and the ultimate truth. The disciple of a teacher once asked his teacher in the midst of one of their conversations, how do I find the truth, teacher? And the teacher says, well, you've got to want it. And he says, oh, teacher, I want it. And he said, then you can find it. And the young student said, no, I can't. And so the teacher walked into the river that was nearby and said, come on in here. And so the student came in, and when the water got up to his chest, the teacher kicked his feet out from underneath him, put his hands on his head, and pushed him under the water. And he held him there. And he held him there, and he held him there, and he held him there until the bubbles came up from him taking a breath. And then he took him by the hair and picked him up out of the water and said, when you want to know truth as bad as you wanted air, you will find truth. If we want to find the truth that is revealed to us throughout Epiphany, not just in the Magi who show us the universality of Christ, but in His baptism, which is a gift that has changed each and every one of us and has changed the world, in the temptations in which we find out Jesus faced the same temptations that we face and shows us how to deal with those temptations. When we want those truths to be a part of our lives, then we find truth. We are also called in Epiphany to embrace that sense of all of God's people, meaning all of the people of the earth are called to know Him as King, as priest, and as sacrifice. Christmas Eve, I focused on the shepherds, the lowest of the low in the social scale. Today, we are looking at the Magi, some of the most elite of the world of their day. And Christ is revealed to them both, just as Christ is revealed to us. And in but moments from now, He is made known to us in the physical reality of His presence as we receive Him in the Eucharist. In the bread and the wine, His body and His blood, His life and His spirit, He is revealed to us. How shall we reveal Him to the world in which we live? A world that needs Him revealed to them. Amen.